Hello, class. I want to help you with this first assignment. This is the West African miracle fruit at the produce stand. Actually, this is a walkthrough to help you answer the bakery assignment. I'm going to do the whole thing for you right now. So, West African miracle fruit is also known as Synsepalum Dulcificum, and it is a fruit, as pictured behind me, that grows in West Africa. It has a very short shelf life, but when you eat the fruit, then it's nutritious, but anything you eat after that that's very sour tastes sweet, and it's a life changer. It's really amazing, this miracle fruit. So there's this produce stand in America that figured out a way to get some, and they're going to try to sell 100 units this week. And any that they don't sell this week will go bad, and they won't have any use for it, no salvage value. So they want to be careful about not selling, they don't want to order too many. And the question of like whether 100 is the right number or not, they know that there's a robust demand for it. So they spend $3,000 for the cost of selling 100 units. Now, part of that is the wholesale cost of the miracle fruit, and the shipping and packaging is included in that $3,000. Also, the labor costs of setting up those 3,000 and making sure they're rotated and marketed properly, not only for the hourly and salary people that are for this firm, and then they have to rent the facility. And so although they're selling other things besides miracle fruit, one of the things they're selling is miracle fruit, and the amount of the stand that they're dedicating this week to the miracle fruit is an expense that they're including in their thing, and there's also some profit required. So the cost to buy the miracle fruit themselves is $25 per pint. So they're buying it at $25, and they have $500 worth of overhead. If you follow me, they're spending, they buy 100 of them at $25 each. That's $2,500. Plus they spend $500 on these other things besides the fruit itself. And so that's why it's a total cost of $3,000 for the week. And they priced the product at $35 each. And when they did that, they sold 80 of them. So the nice thing about that is they made money on each one they sold. They sold 80 for $35 each, and it only cost them, you might say, $25 each, but they bought 100 of them, so they had to throw 20 of them away. So that's not good. And they also had that $500 of overhead, and that's not good. So what I'm interested in is, can you figure out how much profit they made this week, given that what the money they spent and the money that they brought in through revenue, you can calculate their current profit or loss. And before I ask for your recommended course of action, because that's something that we're going to build into, and before you draw a graph or anything like that, I wanted to give you some additional information, and that was that last week the firm priced the product at $40 each, and they sold 70 units, so they had to throw 30 of them out. But they also made more on each one that they sold, because they still only cost $25 each to get, and they sold them for 40. So that gives you some valuable information. Let me show you how you analyze this problem. Given these 2 points, that you know that when this firm charges $40, they sell 70, and when they charge $35, they sell 80, you can get a idea about the demand in the market, where we have some people that are willing to pay quite a bit for a pint of miracle fruit. This stuff's amazing. So what I did is I set up a table like this, see? And in this table that we have, I thought we would put in some of these prices that we'd have. So one of those prices was, say, $40. And then another one was $35, right? So we'll put that a little bit separate. Now, why do you think I would put the $40 and the $35 at different spots? And the reason for that, if you guessed, is that we want to be able to put in the other prices as well. And when I highlight the two things and scroll it down, I can bring these prices down. It's unlikely that we're going to charge anything as low as 27, but I'll do it. And it's possible, I suppose, that we might charge some pretty high prices, maybe up there. You know what? We might even go higher than that. So why don't we just in the interest of setting it all up, we'll run it a little higher, get it into the 50s. Okay. So just to see what it is. Now, the quantity that we are aware of, given the information that this week, when we charged $35, the number of units that we sold were 80. And last week, when we charged 40, we only sold 70 units. So that gives us an idea about how many we would sell if we charged a higher price. It follows the law of demand that the quantity demanded would be lower at higher prices and the quantity demanded would be higher at lower prices. That's an inverse relationship between the quantity demanded and the price. But before we fill in those numbers, and you might be kind of thinking about, we could do that, but why don't we just fill out one of these aisles first. And I'm just going to scroll this up so you get an appreciation for what we're doing here. So revenue is going to be $35 times 80. So we put that in, it's putting in the equal sign, then we click on the 35, and we do the multiplication, which is above the 8, we click on the 80, and that gives us our revenue. Now you could have done that on a calculator, but the reason I wanted to show you how to do it in Excel, or if you want to do it in Sheets in Google Sheets, it works the same way, that you would once you've put in the formula, you can calculate the whole column for all of this, which might be really, really handy when we are trying to figure something out quickly. Now the overhead we determined was $500. That was from the problem. And the cost of goods sold is going to equal $25 that it cost us each one times how many we sold, which was 80. So, oh, yes, we want to set that. So the cost of goods sold was $2,000. We sold 80 of them and it cost us $25 each. So it only cost us 2,000. So our total cost is going to be equal to what our overhead is plus the cost of goods sold. And the profit on our sales was pretty good, right? So we're going to say that we're going to put an equal sign, click on the revenue, and then we're going to do a subtraction and click on the total cost. And we see that we made $300 if we were just thinking about profit on sales. In other words, had we been knowledgeable enough about our market to know that we were only going to sell 80 of them, we should have only bought 80 of them. And we could have made $300 profit. We could have bought 80 of them, sold them for $35 a piece, sold them all, had no leftovers, no waste, and made $300 profit that week. Unfortunately, we do have some unsold, and so we're going to calculate that by saying it's 100 minus however many we did sell. So the unsold is 20, and the inventory cost is also going to be calculated as $25 times whatever number is unsold, 20 in this case. And so our weekly profit is actually not up $300, it's down $200. So we calculate that as you put in equals our sales, our profit from sales, and then we subtract any of our unsold inventory that we had to throw out. And that gives us why don't we say, instead of calling it inventory cost, let me say, let's rename this to be unsold waste expense to really kind of drive it home. And you have the freedom to do that. When you're building these sheets, you want to make your columns descriptive so you understand what it is that you're doing. And you want to be able to, if anyone says, what's that? You can just tell them. So maybe unsold waste expense is a better descriptor in this case. I think so. So that's why we changed it. Okay. So now here's something kind of cool. After filling that all in, we can just highlight that whole piece, copy it, and click it right in there, and just do copy paste, right? And I did Control V and Control C and Control V. And whoops, what's going on here? It looks like it. I gotta move this away. I may have gotten ahead of myself. T13. Uh-huh. So weirdly enough, we also make a similar amount. Here has a negative 200. Last week we lost $200. This week we lost $200, but we did it a different way. This week we lost $200 by charging $35 and selling only 80. Last week we charged $40, sold 70 of them, made $2,800 in revenue because 40 times 70 is $2,800. Still had $500 in overhead. The cost of goods sold was less, so our total costs were less, and so our total profits on what we sold was 550. So it really would have been better had we learned our lesson to just order 70 of them, not 100, then we wouldn't have had to throw any out. But because last week we had to throw out 30 at an expense of $750, we lost $200 for the week. See, because if we don't sell it, then we lose it. We overproduced, undersold, something, whatever it is that we did. We did not make a profit last week, and we did not make a profit this week. So maybe your advice at this point might be, listen, there's no way that you could do this. My advice to you is to close up shop and don't try to sell miracle fruit. But I'll bet you economists out there have a better idea than that. Why don't we fill out the chart is my idea. If we if we were to do some guessing here, those are the only 2 points we know for sure. But it seems reasonable that if we charged 35 this week, charged 40 last week, sold 70 last week, sold 80 this week, that probably if we sold, say, if we sold them at 36, 38, $39, there'd probably be some number that would make sense there. And we're going to put that in. We're going to say 72 there, 74 there, 76 there, 78 there, and brings us up to 80. And so what we see is the demand curve has kind of every time we change the price by $1, we, sell two more or two less, depending on which way we change the price. So, and we can, by doing that, we can highlight that and take it all the way up and see that if we charge, say, 51, we would only sell 48 of them because that's going down by 2 every time we raise the price by $1. And again, I'm going to highlight 2 of them. That way you give the spreadsheet an idea about the pattern you want to create. And you bring that down here and fill that in. You can see that, well, yeah, this is a problem. In order, if we wanted to sell all 100 of them, we'd have to sell them at our cost, right? If we sold them for $25 a piece, we could sell 100 of them. But as it turns out, that would not make any sense to do that. We'd probably lose $500. In fact, we can find out how much we're going to lose because now that we've put in those formulas, we can just highlight the whole column and do that same thing again. Just bring it straight on down, and it fills it right in there. Yep, sure enough, we lose plenty of money. Let me see. It looks like something amiss has happened. Oh, yes, right here. See how this 500 turned into 501, 502, 503, but the real overhead is 500. So we just have to make a correction there. We'll hit that. That was an entry. We're going to highlight now both 500s to show that it doesn't change by 500. That corrects it. So if you're ever doing these, by the way, and you get something wacky like asterisk or something like that, it just means that the column is not wide enough and you want to make it wider so that it shows up. It's an easy fix. It's the information's there. You just can't see it because it can't read it in a sensible way. All right, and while we're at it, let's do the same thing here. I'm going to highlight both of those and take it up. Say take it up to there. And let's see what's going on. So the bad news is that our weekly profit in all of these things are negative. But the good news is that if we, just ignore the weekly profit and follow the advice that you're forming that says we should not order more than we're going to sell, if we can accurately predict the right quantity that we're going to actually sell so that we clear out our full supply and don't have waste, then there are plenty of ways to make some good money. In fact, going back to the charging $40 and selling 70 seems like the best profit on sales that we have listed here. The total costs and so forth are helping us to get to the profit, but it's the profit that's driving our decisions here. However, why don't we keep on considering the idea that maybe 550 is not the highest profit possible. It's just the highest on our list right now. So we'll take this up and go all the way up to say $51 and see what happens. And sure enough, as we go up the profit piece, you see we can make as much as 700, more than 700. We can make 750 in fact. And then it starts going back down to 748. So the optimal thing for us to do would be not to try to sell 100, but to try to sell only 50 and to charge $50 as well. So just to make this a nice little pretty thing, we're going to put that in maybe a nice light green. And by paying attention to the profit on sales and by reducing our order for this upcoming week to only 50 units, raising our price to 50, we'll be bringing the miracle fruit to our area and be paid a nice profit to do so. This is how you do it, and that's it. I just want to add a little editorial, and that is that notice that you have probably never had the miracle fruit, or most people haven't. And one of the reasons for it, the reason why people haven't had it is because it's very perishable. It's very hard to figure out a way to be profitable for it. And so people think about doing it, and they realize that it's they're going to lose money, and that it's that it doesn't make sense for them to do it. And if there was a way to do it so that you would be profitable, then more people could have this miracle fruit. In other words, the market mechanism, this price system and this profit and loss system signals people and incentivizes them to figure out a way to do it so that they can bring miracle fruits and all other sorts of goods and services to their fellow man and make their life better. It's something that is done efficiently and automatically through the market and through buyers and sellers participating in the marketplace. And it's I hope you get a chance to try it sometime. It is pretty amazing stuff. All right, thank you very much. I'm gonna close